Alright guys, let's take a look at the cosine rule, which we sometimes call the law of cosine. So once again, we're dealing with any triangle. Doesn't have to be a right triangle. We're calling it A, B, C. Alright, we have little a, little b, little c to represent the sides. So IB will give you two formulas. Alright, again, you want to make sure that you are familiar with these formulas, know where they are in your formula packet. The first one here is used to find a missing side. And that missing side is C, all right, little c. And to find it, you would just, to undo that square, you would just take the square root of all of this right here. Okay, I'm not going to copy it over, but if you were to just square root all of that, you would have your missing side. But your formula packet gives it as c squared equals, okay. Notice it has a cosine in it, not a sine. Second one here that's given to you is used to find an angle. So you have the cosine of big C. And A and B are, notice in our diagram here, a and little b are the sides that surround this angle of big C that we're trying to find. Okay, little c is the side across from big C. Please make note that the ambiguous case, that was only applicable with the sine rule. It's not going to be applicable with cosine. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay? Let's look at a couple quick examples. Alright, example number one. We're simply trying to find this missing side, which we're calling x. Again, this is not a right triangle. We know we have an angle of 50, and then we have two sides surrounding that angle of 50. So we call it an included angle. We have the 30 and the 65 surrounding it. So notice how we do not have opposites. Yeah, the 50 is opposite the x, but we don't have an angle opposite the 30 or the 65. So that means we're not using our sine rule. Instead, we're using our cosine rule. So to find x, our missing side, we're going to use the c squared rule from before. So we can do this all in one step, guys. We know we're going to have to square root to get that square away. So it's simply going to be, now the formula says a squared plus b squared to begin, so it's going to be 30 squared plus 65 squared minus 2 times, then it says ab. So again, think of this as like your a, this is like your b, this 50 is like your big C, and this x is like your little c from our formula, okay, on the previous page. Alright, so we have minus 2 times the 30 times the 65. And every year I see kids make the classic rookie mistake of putting a sine in there instead of a cosine. So be careful. Make sure you're putting cosine in there of 50. Now, you do not have to waste your time writing out what 30 squared is, and then what 65 squared is, and everything else. You could simply just jump right to the answer. Alright, so what we just showed up above, that constitutes your work. And then from there, you would have an answer of, when you feed it into the calculator and round to 3 sig figs, you would have a side length of 51.2. Okay, so that's using the formula to find a missing side where you're given an angle, alright, that is sandwiched in between two sides, okay, that we know. Okay, our last example here. This is the other scenario when you would use this cosine rule. It's when you are looking to find an angle and we know all three sides. Okay, so we're going to use the second formula where it starts off with the cosine of our angle C. Well, our angle C would be the x here. That's the angle we're trying to find. The 9 is the little c, and then these values are your a and your b. Doesn't matter which one you call a and b. So we're looking to find the cosine of x. And again, if you look at your formula, it starts off a squared plus b squared. So whether you do 7 squared plus 8 squared or 8 squared plus 7 squared, doesn't matter, right, because we're just adding. But you do have to make sure you are doing the a and the b, all right, first that you're adding, and then you're subtracting the side across from the angle you're trying to find. All right, that's really important. If you're going to get it wrong, it's going to happen in that first step there in the numerator somewhere. You need to make sure you're using the two sides that are sandwiching this angle, all right, that are surrounding that angle that we're trying to find. That has to come first, and then you're subtracting the side across from that angle. The denominator here says 2 times AB, okay? So if you were to clean this up a little bit, if you were to do 7 squared plus 8 squared minus 9 squared, you're going to get 32, and on the bottom you're going to get 112. And from there, let's show that we know that to get x alone, we need to do inverse cosine of 32 over 112. Again, that's an important step to make sure you jot down as part of your work. From there, the calculator will spit out 73.4 degrees. Okay, again, make sure you're in degree mode unless you're told otherwise. That's all for now. Bye-bye.